Hey, it's Brian Gabriel. Welcome to day 1 of our 30-day reading challenge for becoming a more knowledgeable libertarian. Hey, what a treat on day 1. Henry Hazlitt? Huh? Come on, he's the guy who wrote Economics in One Lesson. Yeah. He said, look at the secondary and long-term consequences of all human actions, and also the invisible things that, never get to happen because of controls, policies, what have you. In other words, just don't be so narrow in your interpretation of economic phenomena. Really look at it with all of its nuance and everything. So he's just great. He's an economist. He was a journalist who wrote for the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Newsweek. He wrote a bunch of great books. The one we're looking at today is from his book Man versus the Welfare State. Yeah, like kick that welfare state in the butt. Isn't that a great title? Written in 1970, Henry Hazlitt. So let's get right in. He says in this article, it's called The Task Confronting Libertarians. Okay, and it's from that. It's like a chapter in that book, Man versus the Welfare State. And he says all these controls coming down upon us. There's this trend towards socialism, and we can't move. We have all these controls all over. It's worldwide. This socialism. What are we going to do? He says the task confronting libertarians is, well, we're in this war. It's like a war zone, and the war's being fought on 1,000 fronts, like it or not. And so you have to fight. You're being outnumbered, and on probably every front, we're outnumbered. Us libertarians, us liberty, who cares about liberty anymore, huh? Who's the enemy? Who's the enemy? We're outnumbered by the enemy many times over. He says, well, for one thing, you have all these bureaucrats. Back in 1970, he said 2.7 million. You have 2,500 federal agencies that are regulating our behavior, that are controlling us in some way. He says, this needs to be, what do we need to do? What do we do? What do we do, Hazlitt? He says, become a specialist. Now, I would say also become a generalist. General libertarian theory. We have to know this, but we're getting to know it through this 30-day reading program. But he also says, become a specialist. We all need to be specialists who are taking it to them. And even though they have strong economic incentive, these bureaucrats, they're saying, hey, this is my job, so of course I need to control you in this way. Not only does it need to continue, but this control needs to expand as well. Well, we need to be fighting that stuff. He says, become a specialist in some area, where we can apply this great theory, this really neat theory, but we need to apply it to the real world empirically and really just prove to them that they're wrong. And he says inflation is the number one issue. There is a sort of a single issue. If we can win in inflation, but then we win the whole thing. If we lose in inflation, and we're defeated, and we're in danger of losing this whole battle. Okay, liberty versus controls. And so he says governments must steal. By their very nature, they have to steal. Okay, they have to steal. So they live this parasitical existence off of us. They have to steal from Peter in order to give to Paul. In fact, he has this quote by President Johnson. It's a great quote, and by great, I mean evil. And in which President Johnson says, okay, yeah, in 1964, January 15th, he says, we're going to try to take all the money that we think is unnecessarily being spent and take it from the haves and give it to the have-nots that need it so much. That's trash! That's trash! That's what we're fighting against! This is the movement! This is liberty! This is what we're up against! What do you think? What do you say? Are you going to specialize? We have to fight! Okay? I mean, that is trash! I'm ruining my article here! The whole problem is this false class analysis that was started by Marx. It's the rich versus the poor, man. No, it's the state versus us, whether we're rich or poor. And if you're poor, I hope you don't plan on staying poor for your whole life. Come on. Sometimes we hit misfortune, and we want to be helped, and we want to help each other, and all that. But we certainly don't want the state coming in and giving us this horrible bargain, like, yeah, we'll help you for a day and control you for your life. I mean, come on, we don't want it to be doing that. Okay, so let me finish off. You know what the problem with that is? We ruined the incentive structure. Okay? He says, and this is very, very sensible, I think. He says, how can we mitigate the penalties of failure and misfortune, being poor, without undermining the incentives to effort and success? Okay, I just think that's so sensible, and that's what we're about. I'm going to finish off with a quote by Ludwig von Mises, and it's about, all of us must just take a stand and do something to combat this trend. Yes, the Ludwig von Mises, who says, everyone carries a part of society on his shoulders. No one is relieved of his share of responsibility by others. And no one can find a safe way out for himself if society is sweeping towards destruction. Therefore, everyone, in his own interests, must thrust himself vigorously into the intellectual battle. None can stand aside with unconcern. The interests of everyone hang on the result, whether he chooses or not. Every man is drawn into the great historical struggle, the decisive battle into which our epoch has plunged us. I encourage you to follow along with me and read this list for the 30 days. And let's become more knowledgeable libertarians together.